In the halls of the United Nations, inside the plush offices of the World Bank, and at the cocktail parties of the global elite, there is a dress code. It is strict, it is unspoken, and it is universal. You must wear a suit, preferably Italian wool, tailored in London or Paris, paired with a silk tie and a polite smile. For decades, African leaders have adhered to this code religiously. They arrive at summits looking like bankers. They speak the language of diplomacy. They shake hands, sign treaties, and look exactly like the colonial administrators they replaced. The suit is the uniform of the civilized world. It signals that you are safe. It signals that you play by the rules. But recently, a glitch has appeared in this matrix. A young man has walked onto the world stage who refuses to wear the costume. Captain Ibrahim Traoré does not own a tuxedo. He does not wear cufflinks. When he meets with diplomats, when he addresses his nation, and even when he meets fellow heads of state, he wears combat fatigues. He wears a pistol on his hip. He wears a red beret that screams danger. To the Western eye, this is terrifying. They call him a warlord. They call him a thug. But to the people of the Sahel and to the students of Marcus Garvey, he is sending a message that is louder than any speech. We are not here to negotiate. We are here to fight. To understand the power of Traoré's wardrobe, we must go back to the 1920s and look at the man who invented the aesthetics of black power, Marcus Garvey. When Marcus Garvey paraded through the streets of Harlem, he didn't dress like a politician. He dressed like an emperor. He wore a magnificent Admiral's uniform with gold epaulets, a plumed hat, and a ceremonial sword. The intellectual elite of the time, men like W.E.B. Du Bois, mocked him. They called him a clown. They said he was playing dress-up. They were embarrassed by his pageantry because they were desperately trying to prove to white America that black people were respectable. They wore three-piece suits. They wanted to fit in. Garvey didn't want to fit in. He wanted to stand out. He understood something about human psychology that his critics missed. The image is the message. For 400 years, black people had only seen white men in uniforms of authority. They had only seen white admirals, white generals, white kings. Garvey knew that before you can build a black army, you have to help black people visualize a black army. But by putting on that uniform, he wasn't playing a game. He was decolonizing the imagination. He was saying, I do not answer to your king. I am my own king. He was projecting sovereignty before he even had a country. Ibrahim Traoré is the spiritual heir to this philosophy. But while Garvey's uniform was ceremonial, Traoré's uniform is functional. And the contrast it creates with other African leaders is devastating. Look at the typical president of a francophone African country. He is often older. He speaks French better than his native tongue. He spends his weekends in a villa in the south of France. And he wears immaculate suits. Why? Because the suit is the uniform of the manager. In the colonial system, the white man was the owner, and the compliant African leader was the manager. It's the manager's job is to keep the workers quiet and ensure the resources flow to the owner. The manager gets paid well. He gets to dress like the owner, but he owns nothing. When Traoré puts on his combat gear, he is rejecting the role of the manager. He is stepping into the role of the worker and the protector. His clothes are covered in the dust of the Sahel, not the perfume of Paris. He is telling his people, I am not above you. I am with you in the trenches. This is a direct echo of Thomas Sankara, the Che Guevara of Africa, who also famously rejected Western fashion. Sankara forced his government officials to wear the faso dan fani, a traditional cotton tunic woven by Burkinabe women. Sankara said, "To wear the suit of the imperialist is to think like the imperialist." He understood that you cannot liberate your country while dressing like the man who enslaved it. Traoré has taken this a step further. He wears the uniform because his country is literally at war with terrorism, and at war with neocolonialism. The psychological impact of this cannot be overstated. When a young boy in a village sees a president in a suit, he sees a distant figure, a politician who lies. When he sees Traoré in a tactical vest, he sees a soldier who protects. It changes the definition of leadership. It shifts the archetype from the politician to the warrior. The West hates this. They hate it because military uniforms on African leaders remind them of the one thing they fear most: defiance. A leader in a suit can be bribed. A leader in a suit can be threatened with sanctions. A leader in a suit worries about his stock portfolio. But a man who sleeps in a barracks and carries a gun? That man is unpredictable. That man is not trying to be invited to the White House dinner. We see the same Garveyite principle in the rest of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. Assimi Goïta of Mali and Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger also wear their uniforms. It has become the brand identity of the revolution. It is a visual wall of separation. On one side you have ECOWAS leaders, the suits, who threaten to invade their neighbors on behalf of Western powers. On the other side you have the AES leaders, the fatigues, who stand ready to die for their soil. The visual contrast makes the political choice easy for the masses to understand. One group looks like Brussels, and the other group looks like the Sahel. But there is a deeper layer. Marcus Garvey taught us that a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. He also taught that a people without self-respect will never command the respect of others. The suit is a symbol of assimilation. It says, "I accept your standards of beauty and power." By rejecting it, Traoré is engaging in an act of supreme self-respect. Critics will say, "It's just clothes. Policy matters more." They are wrong. In a world dominated by media, symbols are weapons. When Traoré went to the Russia-Africa summit, he was the youngest leader there. He stood amidst a sea of elderly men in expensive suits, and yet all the cameras were pointed at the man in the red beret. Why? Because he looked authentic, and he looked like the only man in the room who wasn't playing a role written by someone else. He radiated the stepping razor energy of Peter Tosh, dangerous, sharp, and unapologetically black. This is the lesson of the uniform of war. It forces the world to deal with you on your terms. Garvey knew it in 1920. He knew that if he walked into a meeting wearing a beggar's rags, they would treat him like a beggar. But if he walked in looking like a general, they might laugh, but they would also fear. Traoré has removed the laughter. No one is laughing at the AES anymore. They are sanctioning them. They are threatening them. But they are not laughing. For the youth of the diaspora, seeing Traoré is a wake-up call. It begs the question, what uniforms are we wearing? Are we dressing to please the corporate masters of Babylon? Or are we code-switching our language and our appearance to fit into spaces that do not love us? Traoré challenges us to take off the suit, metaphorically and literally, to stop seeking validation from the very systems that oppress us. The Red Beret is not just a hat, it is a crown. It is the same crown Garvey spoke of, just in a different form. It signifies that the wearer serves only one master, the people. As the AES continues to solidify its power, notice how the Western media obsesses over their clothes. They call them junta leaders in fatigues with a sneer. They want them to put the suits back on. They want them to go back to being managers. But the genie is out of the bottle. The manager has been fired. The warriors have taken over the boardroom. Marcus Garvey was deported before he could lead his army. Ibrahim Traoré is leading his army right now, and he is dressed for the occasion. The suit is for the peace treaty, but the war for Africa's soul is far from over. Until the victory is won, the uniform stays on.